Pripyat, spring 1986. This new town has been built to accommodate the staff and workers of the Chernobyl nuclear plant. The 45,000 inhabitants, who were for the most part young professionals, were still Soviet citizens. They would only become Ukrainian 5 years later. On April 26, 1986 at 01:23, the plant's engineers were conducting an experiment on the electric system of Reactor 4. The experiment went wrong. The reactor, which had just been loaded with 230 tons of uranium oxide, went totally out of control. The reactor core exploded, releasing radioactive particles into the atmosphere. A fire broke out that would take 10 days to extinguish. At that time, Lena lived in Pripyat, only 3 kilometers from the nuclear power plant, where he was in charge of the reactor systems testing and maintenance department. When he was a student in Moscow, he had been told that this kind of RBMK reactor was the safest and most reliable in the world.
Soviet TV make an announcement about the real scale of the accident only after Swedish and Finland government make some warning.
There was total chaos in Chernobyl. The authorities took hours before giving instructions to workers and the public, before deciding to set up an exclusion zone around the power plant. At that time, Anatoly Gora was shift supervisor in charge of the turbine department for reactors 3 and 4. Today, he heads the Chernobyl Training Center, where every worker and contractor at the power plant receives the latest safety and security training.
Там изложено все, что касается управления персоналом, все постулаты. И один из них – это как раз, что компетентность персонала – это залог надежной, безопасной работы предприятия.
Immediately after the accident, a temporary shelter was built over the destroyed Unit 4 reactor. Dismantling and decommissioning work was begun on this structure and on the undamaged Units 1, 2 and 3. The international community then started to invest in a series of projects, including infrastructure, roads, warehouses, utilities, and the provision of radioactive waste management equipment, all of which was necessary to prepare the ground for the titanic work currently being carried out, the new safe confinement facility, construction of which started in 2010, which will hopefully host the first shelter by 2017. 10 years ago, a dedicated office called the Joint Support Office, JSO, was set up in Kiev by the European Commission in order to better coordinate the EU-funded projects. Dave Corbett heads this office.
We're primarily here to provide day-to-day operational support in-country, but of course that means working in very close relationship to support the beneficiary, principally, and their end users, who are the recipients of the EC finance projects. Or the area of nuclear safety, we have 3 basic sectors. We have the operator, we have the back end of radioactive waste management, which is managed by the state agency for the management of the exclusion zone, and then of course there's the nuclear regulator.
The JSO started operating in Ukraine under the Technical Assistance to the Commonwealth of Independent States, TASIS program, and currently operates under the Instrument for Nuclear Safety Cooperation, which is global in its scope. In this way, technical assistance to Ukraine in operating its nuclear infrastructure and equipment has been transformed into real cooperation between the relevant Ukrainian authorities and the world's main donors in the nuclear energy sector.
For the operator sector, for example, the purpose, certainly since the introduction of INSC, has been focused more on the provision of services to support Energoatom in their improvement of safety culture rather than equipment supply. With the radwaste sector, we're trying to deal with so many different things. To operate a nuclear energy industry in any country, you need a radioactive waste management infrastructure. So we need interim storage, we need concepts for disposal. We need the facilities to manage this. And so far we've been building some of this stuff ready for the decommissioning of Chernobyl, units 1 to 3, and of course to provide some support in Unit 4 as much as we possibly can. There's still lots to do.
The European Commission is financing a series of nuclear safety projects in Ukraine, ranging from the construction of a drum and container production facility for radioactive waste storage to various laboratories, including mobile labs and control posts, and a state-of-the-art incinerator for contaminated trees. Even more sophisticated is the brand new solid waste processing facility, built within the Chernobyl complex, which fragments, segregates and sorts all kinds of solid rad waste.
Ну, думаю, нет. Я считаю, что деньги, которые и опыт тот, который передала Европейская комиссия, является очень существенным вложением в этап обращения с радиоактивными отходами.
The European Commission has also supported the construction in the Vector complex of a specially equipped near-surface storage facility for low and medium-level short-lived solid waste, and of a centralized storage facility for highly active spent ionizing radiation sources, which is now ready to operate under the supervision of Sergei Kiryev.
В отношении безопасности, как радиационной безопасности и охраны окружающей среды, так и физической защиты тех радиационных материалов и источников, которые будут здесь находиться.
But the job is far from finished.
We need interim storage, we need disposal, at least concepts for disposal. We need the facilities to manage this.
Long before the supply of technological equipment, the EU was concerned about the state of health of children and pregnant women in the Chernobyl exclusion zone.
І побачили, що рівень смертності невпинно росте, і смертність дуже особлива. Велика кількість людей вмирає в молодому віці, працездатному віці. Народжуваність на досить низькому рівні, і ми маємо дуже високий негативний природний приріст. Тобто ми бачимо, що населення району вимирає.
Thanks to systematic mapping of soil contamination and the supply of adequate medical equipment, most of the children and pregnant women living around Chernobyl now undergo regular medical examinations. But the situation remains worrying. More than 80% of children in the region have a serious predisposition towards cardiovascular diseases. The risk of them contracting thyroid cancer is 100% higher here than in the rest of the country. But neither the risk of contamination nor Ukrainian law can prevent some former inhabitants of the zone from coming back to their villages and living there, regardless of the poor conditions.
What I found in the last 10 years is that not all the time, but every now and again, we have a great success. And it's all part of working with Ukrainian people. They deliver the success. And I believe that Ukraine has a great future. If Ukraine can stabilize itself with its new government, if it can stabilize the country in terms of becoming economically positive rather than economically negative, then I think we have a chance.
Страдають тисячі, десятки тисяч, мільйони людей і, що найгірше, дітей. Тому не забувайте про цю катастрофу. І якщо є така можливість, є такі в душі покликання допомагати цим людям.